Well, we noticed that he wasn't responding in the way that Roman, our eldest, did, so we had something to compare it to. He just wasn't responding, was he? You'd walk in a room and say his name, he wouldn't automatically turn around and look at you. There was just a little sign.
You thought he was deaf, didn't you?
Yeah, well, actually, the first doctor we went to see said he might be deaf. I mean, that's kind of what happens sometimes with the diagnosis of autism, because they're not responding, so but he was fine.
Sent to a behavioural psychologist.
Yes.
Correct. And the news, when you were told that that he could be autistic, it was the way in which you were told that you thought was brutal.
Well, I mean, it was pretty direct. I mean, I like to know what's going on anyway, but it was a shock. And also, back then, we didn't really know what it meant. It wasn't talked about as much as it is now. And the only reference we had was sort of Rain Man, the movie. I mean, it really was that basic and understanding.
I know what you're getting. It's the language.
It was because I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm afraid to tell you your son is autistic. Now, looking back, actually, would I change anything? We've discussed this. No, because they've got this extraordinary amount of gifts that we need to sort of, you know, exploit in the sense of they can offer you know, a way of viewing the world we live in that we cannot actually do. It's quite incredible. We
were really lucky because Tino statemented, and you're supposed to be able to choose your first choice is what you get, which didn't actually happen with his primary school. But we got lucky because we did end up in a school. Their head of special education needs, Karen, was unbelievable, so we really looked out with her. She got it. She understands the individuality of all children, especially children with needs. But when you go into secondary school, it's just a bigger animal.
Game. 1,500 average from a tiny space, and then they're suddenly into this almost like a stadium. It feels to them.
And it's very difficult for the schools because they need the resources to be able to attend to the needs of children who might need, you know, something else, whether it's care in the playground or perhaps protection from bullying or something like that. It does make it very difficult because we've discussed so many times on here, autism is a very wide sliding scale.
Yeah, and he's considered high functioning. So for us, in a way, we don't want to send him to a school for autistic children as such, because, for example, he spent a week at a school like that, really good school, Anna Kennedy School, and he had to be in a year above because he's too high functioning for an autistic school. Yeah. He's too autistic.
Gosh, so you're really right in the
fall down that gap. And that's what you'll find with many parents with autistic children, too high functioning for specialists, not high functioning enough for mainstream schools.
So what do you do? What have you found? What's the reality of this?
Well, we've been to see a lot of schools, and it's been a little bit depressing, really, hasn't it? We've been down all the right avenues. We've been to see all the schools in our borough, etc., etc. And some of the provisions for autistic children, it's just been hellish, really, and very little understanding of what they need.
Because the government will always push for inclusion, undoubtedly. They always will. The problem is the structure is not there. So you throw a child on the spectrum into a school with a mainstream education that we've all experienced, and they don't understand it. You know, they have difficulties understanding abstract concepts. So you need to adapt to them, not go, oh, you know, you need to learn geography and algebra and whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, each will have an individual gift but you need to focus in on that, not just say, you need to do it our way. And that's the problem. So the schools
that's the trouble, isn't it? Because society likes children to be mainstream because
the grades, Philip, the grades.
And I was going to say, Ofcom want the schools to perform. They have targets to hit.
It's true, but
Ofsted. Ofcom.
Yeah, you see that's the one we work to.
Something worry about.
But you know, school life is supposed to reflect sort of the bigger world when they go out of it. I mean, the diagnosis of autism is rising, which means there's more autistic people in society, and the schools should be integrating people and be more awareness about, you know, how these children are and what they'll be as adults.
But as we know, and we've had teachers on here that will say, time is stretched, they don't, with the classes they have at the moment.
And I do have to emphasise, it's not the teacher's fault, it's not the school's fault. These guys are trying desperately hard to incorporate the children. they haven't got the funding, guys. They haven't got the funding.
Yeah.
They need the resources. And there's so much government waste. We all know that they could get the resources, but it's priorities, and they're not prioritised, unfortunately.
And the reason you're doing this, and the reason you want to talk about this, is because, A, you have a platform sitting here, and B, there are hundreds of parents who are in the same situation.
Yeah, yeah.
We went to the autism show last year, and the amount of parents that were coming up to us.
Yeah,
some
the queue of people.
15 schools they'd gone to, 15 different schools, explored different boroughs, desperate, saying, you know, why can't our children be included?
You considered home ed?
Yeah, we did. And the only reason I didn't go for it is because I want him to be social. I know his natural feel for that is that he doesn't really want to be social with anybody, but I do want him to be with other children.
Yeah.
Another fundamental problem with home education. The local authority will take away the child's statement and therefore the money. So now the parent has got the pressure of home educating and the financial pressure of home educating. It's insane.
You're also very fortunate in the fact that that you're not together anymore, but you still work together as a partnership
well,
when it comes to...
We're passionate about being parents. Yeah. We have complete solidarity on parenting. I mean, occasionally we've had a difference of opinion, but mainly we're fighting for Tino, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Parents should always get rid of their differences for their children.
Yeah.
Because it's all ego and nonsense. So you should always fight hard. And I'm, you know, like Mel said, we're so passionate about it. And I honestly believe that, you know, for a society to call itself civilised, you have to show that you can take care of the most vulnerable in that society. If you can't, don't bother calling yourself a civilised society. Don't bother. And we're failing here. Because it's not just about autistic children. We're talking about recently cuts to disabled, you know, individuals, dyslexic children, you know, other sensory needs that children have. It's a vast area that needs to be funded.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very much
It's lovely to see
Thank
you
you.
both.
It's nice to see you both.
lovely.
Thank you.
For more of the same, just click here.
Probably having to put my leg on every day, or like waking up and having to use crutches just to go to the bathroom or into kitchen. I think that's probably what I find hardest.